The amount of bad advice given to women online right now is genuinely concerning. People with no clinical background, no coaching experience, and no understanding of human physiology are racking up millions of views telling women how their bodies should work. So today I'm reacting to 5 viral claims and using them to break down the truth on how women should train, eat, sleep, and look after their long-term health. And if you're new here, I'm Sherelle, a women's health and fitness coach, registered nurse, and midwife. Let's dive in.
I think a lot of people don't realize how most people die. I worked as a paramedic firefighter for 17 years before this. Most of the death calls I responded to were just old people that didn't have any muscle tissue. When you're young, it seems like it's very easy to have muscle tissue. It's not really on your mind because the mortality of the fact that you are going to die eventually isn't really at front of brain. But as you get older, it's very important you get into the gym and you grow muscle tissue, you get strong, because muscle tissue is directly correlated, data proves this, with the longevity and quality of your life. So if you want to live a long, healthy, quality life, long into your elderly years, you need muscle tissue.
In a past life, I was a registered nurse, and I truly did see the behind the scenes of what happens to women and men as we age if we don't look after our bodies in the years prior. A lot of people have like an assumption of like how people die, right? They think it's like some big accident. And of course that is the case for a lot of people. But if you've ever been to an aged care facility, you will know the reality of the inside and what actually happens if we don't look after our muscle, our bones, and our longevity in the decades prior. For most people, as they age, if they don't look after themselves, aging looks like a loss of independence, being fragile, having a fear of falling over, and long-term chronic health diseases like Alzheimer's, which obviously no one wants. And as I've gotten older over the years, it's something I've become more aware of, like how important building muscle, building bone, getting away from like skinny diet culture that all of us women are fed, and actually looking at the things that truly do matter. Training for our old lady body and instead of just chasing being thin all of the time. This is the conversation really that more people need to be having in the fitness industry. None of this like 8-week shred stuff all of the time or lose 10 kilos. And of course, if you have body composition goals, amazing. But we also need to be talking about longevity, health, and well-being to make sure that it's not just about how we look. It's also about how we move, how we feel, how we perform, and how we age. Muscle tissue now is really just starting to be recognized as a longevity organ, right? Not only does it produce a lot of hormones, but it really does look after our body as we age. A lot of people, of course, look at cardiovascular fitness and other metrics of health, but they now do know muscle strength, and in particular, your lower body strength really is correlated with living longer and living an active and healthy life. So there is no better reason to get into the gym and prioritize your muscle building years while you can. The reality is for a lot of people is there's exercise and there's training, and they're separate, right? Exercise and daily movement is amazing. This is things like cleaning the house, running after your kids, gardening, going for walks. These are things that fall into just exercise and daily activity, which obviously we do need. But training is really the only thing that consistently builds strength and muscle, because with training, we're following a specific program and we're applying progressive overload. There is nothing in life that will ever replace resistance training. No gardening, no daily walks, no Pilates, no core workouts, right? You need resistance training. It's not an option, it's a non-negotiable. Like 2 resistance training sessions a week is more than enough to build strength and prevent muscle loss as we age. I tend to encourage 3 for most of my clients because they also have body composition and strength muscle building goals. But for anyone that just wants to live a healthy, active, long life free of disease, injury, and illness as best as they can, we do want to be aiming for at least 2 resistance training workouts a week where you're lifting heavy weights and progressively overloading. Strength training isn't just about aesthetics. It's about whether you can actually get up off the floor in your 80s if you fall over.
This is what a healthy bone looks like.
And this is what your bone looks like after menopause.
My mum's been a GP for over 30 years, and she cannot believe how little awareness there is about osteoporosis risk in postmenopausal women.
From the age of 30, women lose 0.2% of their bone mass every year, which is this cortex right here.
With that little change, you won't really notice a difference.
But once you hit menopause, you lose 2 to 3%
How gross does that bone look?
every single year.
The reason that happens is your hormone estrogen that helps calcium and vitamin D get into bones drops dramatically.
So if we look at the first 10 years post-menopause,
That will result in a 30% reduction in total bone density.
which will have a huge impact on your health. So you need to be thinking about reducing your risk.
And focus on building good bone habits in your 30s, 40s and 50s. Now, Mama Madge just got her bone density scan done. And even a healthy and active woman like herself can have a low bone density score.
Osteoporosis and sarcopenia are two of the biggest threats to a woman's quality of life post-menopause, and we honestly do not speak about it enough. One thing that's wild to me is how much this information has not been spoken about until recently. When you actually look at the statistics of osteoporosis and how much it's increased over the years, and then obviously we look at diet culture and all the misinformation that women have been just fed over the last couple of decades, it's no surprise that women are running into these issues and they're actually not really getting better. If you get into strength training and resistance training, you can actually increase your bone density, like what he was speaking about. This is to some degree reversible. Obviously, fracturing your hip though is not. So we do want to make sure that we're encouraging the movement and exercise that's actually going to drive bone building and muscle building as early as possible, but then also just spreading the right message to everyone around us. It's not always just about how you look. It's the misconception that as you age, you are fragile, and that's not true. It's not the aging that makes us fragile. It's our change of lifestyle and the things that we don't do that makes us fragile. The same thing often happens for pregnant women. Like when women get pregnant, they're like, oh, you just rest up. It's like, I'm not diseased, right? Like this is a physiology. It's a normal thing. So the same thing happens as we age. And in fact, if we're telling people to pull back as they age and rest and don't overexert yourself and maybe just do some gardening today or whatever it might be, we're actually making the problem worse and we're putting people in a worse position. They do say that as we get older, our protein needs even increase more than when we were younger. So arguably, we should be actually spending more time, more energy, more effort on things like resistance training, quality nutrition, rest, and really looking after our body as best as we can, because we just don't have as much recoverability as what you would have maybe in your 20s and 30s. The one thing I see popping up a lot as well with osteoporosis is jump training. Now, honestly, I think it's a hazard if you can't jump on a box or skip or run. I think we should be moving our body in all planes and all ranges of motion, and there shouldn't be anything that's off limit. If you can't run to the mailbox, I'm worried. Do you know what I mean? We should be able to do these things, but nothing replaces strength training. Just get really strong. It's the best thing that you can do. If you can just build up a heap of physical strength, especially if you're new to the gym or you're just starting to get back into progressive loading, it's one of the best things that you can do. Rather than getting away in all the hype of all the little protocols, just come back to the basics. Obviously, in a world at the moment where you can buy skinny and GLP-1s like Ozempic and other sort of drugs are everywhere at the moment, and for good reason. It's probably one of the biggest revolutions that we've had in healthcare in a very long time, because obesity is obviously a big concern for the world and it costs the world millions and billions, and it's a major factor for a lot of people. Nothing will replace just getting in the gym. Ever. There won't be a pill, a drug, an injection that will actually do that work for us when it comes to building bone, building muscle, and building strength for optimal health. And the benefits of strength training go far beyond your skeleton. It changes how your entire metabolism functions, which is where this next one comes in.
Did you know if you lift heavy, you'll build more muscle? And if you build more muscle, you'll burn more calories at rest. And if you burn more calories at rest, fat loss becomes easier. And if fat loss becomes easier, your insulin sensitivity improves. And if your insulin sensitivity improves, your body becomes better at using carbs for energy instead of storing them as fat. And if your body becomes better at using carbs for energy instead of storing them as fat, your body composition improves. And if your body composition improves, you'll have more energy. And if you have more energy, you'll move more throughout the day. And if you move more throughout your day, you'll support your heart health and longevity. But guess what else? If you strength train consistently, you'll also strengthen your bones. And if your bones become stronger, you'll reduce your risk of osteoporosis and fractures as you age. And if you reduce your risk of fractures as you age, you're more likely to stay independent later in life. And if you stay independent later in life, you can continue fully living your life instead of relying on others to take care of you. Because strength training doesn't just make you stronger, it improves your metabolism, your hormone, your bone health, your longevity, your confidence, and the way you feel every single day, bruv.
If you ever needed a reason to strength train, that's it. A lot of people are always surprised when you look at an athlete and they're like, how do they look like that and they eat so much? right? And it's because by having a lot of muscle mass, a lot of lean tissue and being really athletic, you are enhancing your metabolism. You're enhancing how your body uses fuel at a cellular level. This is why gym people eat a hell of a lot of carbs, and really sedentary people sort of can't get away with it because carbohydrates are our main fuel source in the gym, right? We use them when we're strength training. We need carbohydrates. So the more muscle you have, the harder you train, the more carbohydrate you can eat, and the higher your metabolism becomes because you have more lean tissue or lean body mass, which burns more calories at rest. So it's this big, nice circle. And it's why it's so important to look at nutrition, training, recovery as a whole, not just prioritize one area, because they go hand in hand. And when you start actually training hard, training consistently, I mean, the appetite that comes with it for a good reason. I remember when I went to Europe and I was backpacking for like 6 weeks and my appetite just completely went. And it was the first time, obviously, in like a decade that I'd experienced that because I've been training for so long. But it reminded me how much strength training and resistance training actually drives up your metabolism and your appetite, because you burn a lot more calories throughout the day than what you expect, even when you're not in the gym. Like, it's not about the calories you burn in the gym. And everyone on the internet wants to worry about insulin, right? But it's more about how sensitive your insulin becomes when you're strength training. And this is consistent. It's not like it's up, down, up, down. You are more able to regulate hormones, and insulin is a hormone. So your body just becomes better at regulating, controlling hormones. You don't have all these weird things going on. And it's because your metabolism and your metabolic health is thriving. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's no surprise that women who have the best body composition or can maintain like a healthy, fit body composition also have really good metabolic health. Like, they're not walking around trying to eat 1,200 calories. They often don't have hormonal considerations or all these mystery illnesses going on because their metabolism and their body is just functioning as it should from the inside out. Now, of course, there's going to be case scenarios, and of course, there's going to be some people out there that, you know, have disease and illness and all these other sort of things. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the majority. Like, when we strength train, it does so much more for our body than just build muscle. Most women, and dare I say most coaches, they look at a calorie target, a step target, body weight, maybe some photos, and how many workouts they tick off a week. And that's like beginner stuff. But if you really want to enhance it and improve it, like, we do have to be looking at other markers as well. Like, what's your recovery look like? What does your training intensity look like? Like, what do you squat? What do you bench? What do you deadlift? It's not more than at least their body weight, maybe 1.5, like, just depends on age, etc. I just know that they're not reaching their full potential. Consistency is the entry point. It's not optimizing. If we want to optimize, it's not just about what we do, it's about how we do it. It's about technique in the gym. It's about actual power and drive and strength. It's about food quality. Yes, I will be that person that says not all calories are created equal, right? Like, yes, calorie counting matters, of course. If you've got weight loss goals, body composition goals, etc., we look at macros. But it's also really important to look at what they're made up of. One thing that tends to happen when people get into the gym and start looking after their fitness is they actually start improving lifestyle habits around them. So when we look at stress management or even sleep quality, like, we know how fundamental sleep is for actually regulating hormones, because when you're in deep sleep, that's actually where a lot of your hormones are created, and it's also where your body sort of cleans up all the mess that's going on inside it. So unfortunately, it's why shift workers and people working night duty have expected lower life expectancy. And often when we start prioritizing one area, like getting to the gym or eating healthy, it starts to ripple into other areas too. And that is honestly the benefit of really adopting like a healthy lifestyle, is it's not just about building strength or building muscle or losing weight. It's also about how it improves our overall metabolic health. So your metabolism, your bones, and your longevity, it's all shaped by what you do in the gym. Now let's get into one of the most bizarre things that I've seen go viral recently.
Why do women need more sleep than men?
Oh, they need dramatically more sleep than men. I can always say this. A man can get away with 7 to 8 hours. Sometimes even 6. I don't encourage 6. But the idea is a woman needs 8 to 10 hours. And the key is what's called hormonal reserves. See, if you think of it this way, women depend so much on their adrenals to produce even daily hormones. A man does not. Men can produce maybe 2-3% of their adrenals, and 97%, 98% is produced by the testicles. Testicles work if you're sleeping or not. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of funny saying that. Women need a certain adrenal reserve of hormone being produced to create
Did he just say that testicles work in this? What, do they just turn off at some stage? What, do our ovaries malfunction and just switch off?
Create their whole anabolics. Women need a lot more sleep than men. Women need uninterrupted sleep. Men can get away because a lot of their vitality, a lot of their repair is done by testosterone. And it's mainly made by the testicle.
It's always a doctor. Why is it always a chiropractor? I love my chiro, but like, come on. There was just so many flaws in this, and I just watched it and I thought, you are kidding me. I'm very much like an evolutionary physiology person. And I'm like, if women were so fragile that we needed 10 hours of sleep, explain childbirth, explain having kids, explain parenting. That makes no physiological sense. Why would that be the case? If anything, women should be able to function off less sleep. Not that I want to, I love my 8 hours of sleep. But I think making out that women are this precious, fragile little thing that we need 8 to 10 hours of sleep to function and have a great day. That's what he said, to have a great day. What, so every day I don't get 10 hours, it's not a great day? There's so many flaws, right? And what if a man needs 8 to 10 hours? What if he falls into that bracket and he's like, oh, I guess I can get away with 6? We know that testosterone levels require high amounts of deep sleep. So what, like, make it make sense, doc. Yeah, like no one's disagreeing. And this is the hard part, is like when people throw around big words and use organs and hormones and stats and data that he's just made up. Maybe there is some truth behind it, but there is a lot of flaws in what he's saying, especially his rationale as to why women need 10 hours of sleep. I believe that women probably do need a little bit of extra sleep. If we've got hormonal changes throughout the month, we've got other things going on that are impacting our recoverability, potentially there might be certain stages of the month or certain seasons of life where sleep quality and sleep duration becomes more important. But actually looking into the research, I discovered that women on average sleep 11 minutes more than men. 11 minutes more. He was making it out that it needs to be hours, and statistically women need significantly more sleep, but that's actually not what the research says is happening. Women depend so much on their adrenals to produce even daily hormones. Our adrenal glands are important for both men and women. They produce cortisol, right, which we know is our stress response. They produce aldosterone, which helps us regulate salt and blood pressure. And they also produce some androgens like DHEA, which obviously have a sex difference as well. But they're important for both men and women. He's just essentially saying a whole lot of words and not really saying much. So yes, of course, men and women, we know we have different reproductive organs. Women have the ovaries, so I don't know why we're not talking about the ovaries in there. Men have testes. Obviously, men produce testosterone through their testes. Women still produce some testosterone, but we produce more estrogen and progesterone. So it's just different, right? It doesn't mean that it's better or worse, right or wrong. It's obviously just basic human physiology. And men and women both have adrenal glands. So a lot of this stuff that you see online at the moment, especially in the medical world, really does just take a lot of noise, a lot of like maybes, a lot of correlation and causation and things that maybe make sense a little bit. But when you actually break it down, one, it's not really helpful. And two, you often find a lot of flaws in the actual information or facts that they're saying. When I used to work as a nurse and a midwife, I would often work 1 month of night duty at a time. One thing I always used to approach those night duties with is the mindset of, just because I'm tired doesn't mean that I can't do hard things. Like, just because I'm tired doesn't mean that I don't go to the gym. Just because I'm tired and unmotivated doesn't mean that I eat like I still can do hard things. Of course you can. And this sort of content just makes women feel even more fragile. Like, just because we're tired and exhausted, or dare I say we get like 7.5 hours of sleep, we can't do hard things. And it's not the truth. It's something I remind all of my clients all the time. If you're still a little bit tired, we adapt, we adjust, we pull back, we don't stop. We're always going to have different seasons of life. And like I said, for a lot of women, 10 hours is completely unrealistic. And for a lot of people, it's probably not necessary. It's so individualized. It's not necessarily gender specific. It's genetic, and it's also around your lifestyle. Does that demand more recovery time and more sleep from you, or does it not? And this brings me to the claim that I disagree with the most from the same person. I had to have a little bit of, I was like, wow, he's on a roll here.
Women should not fast like a man. Women should not exercise like a man. Women should not have a six-pack like a man. You can't expect to act like a man and be healthy. Ladies, if you fast like a man, there will be hormonal issues. Ladies, if you exercise like a man, there will be hormonal issues. If you have a six-pack like a man, there will be hormonal issues. Ladies, remember this. You're not small men. If you try to be a man, you can end up with high cortisol and low progesterone, which leads to so many health issues that you ladies deal with today.
Now, some of these things I do somewhat agree with, right? Like fasting is not something I personally advocate for because for the women I work with, they're well trained and I'm encouraging building strength and building muscle. And if we're going into our workouts without any food in our stomach or we're not eating consistent meals, like often I find that it impacts recovery and also relationship with food because I find that a lot of women fast and try and have these fasting windows, not for health, but for cutting calories. And for the women I work with, I'm trying to increase their metabolism. And they're like, I'm not hungry at breakfast. I'm like, yeah, because you're just down-regulating your metabolism because you're starving yourself all the time. Fasting can be fine for some people. That's not what I disagree with. It's this one.
Women should not exercise like a man.
What should they exercise like? Things like this are actually really damaging. And a lot of people don't realize it, but it's these tiny little bits of misinformation that feed into the belief system of women that I'm not the same as a man. I need to be functioning different. I need to have a different exercise protocol, a different diet, and any bit of research that comes out isn't relevant to me because it's not on a woman. It's not the case. Like, as we know, there is sports science research, and yes, women have somewhat been underrepresented for a long period of time, but the same basic principles of progressive overload, periodization, and resistance training still apply. And the problem is there's a lot of women these days that don't think that's the case. They think that Pilates is the reason why they've got their snatched waist, or they think that bodybuilding is what made them bulky. Like, they've got these beliefs and these misconceptions because of little tiny bits of misinformation like this that feed into the bigger system of you're special, you're different, and you should pay more or do something differently or buy my program or use this supplement. And it's actually what keeps women stuck and miserable and confused for so long. And leads back to things like osteoporosis, because if I'm not training like a man, I mean, what's training like a woman? There are also a lot of women that naturally have a six-pack. A lot of women who were gymnasts growing up naturally just have a visible six-pack because of the muscle definition that they've got there and how lean they can naturally maintain their body fat percentage without starving themselves. So for some women, yes, having a six-pack might lead to hormonal issues, but for many women, it's not. So to apply these blanket black and white rules to men and women, I just feel like it does such a disservice because us women are actually working really hard to go against this misinformation, to say, yes, of course, women underrepresented for a long time, but hey, we actually have a lot of research now that includes women. We actually have a lot of sports science research that includes both men and women and shows that the correlation is pretty similar. Yes, we have a difference in strength to some degree simply because of body size, but many other things are very much equal. The way we build muscle is exactly the same because it's based on human physiology, not gender. It reinforces our biases. And what we do is when we see things that we've got deep-seated beliefs with, we go, yeah, we double tap it, we like it, and it fills our algorithm again. And we don't get to actually see all the stuff that we don't agree with because social media wants to feed you what you like, what you agree, what gets you fired up. And this is why it happens, unfortunately. What we're seeing now as well is in the Olympics and a lot of different sports, like women are sort of starting to catch up. And of course, there will be a lot of things that women never do catch up on simply because we have smaller lungs and a smaller heart. So we can't actually have the same cardio output as a man. That's just physiology again, but it's not necessarily due to hormones to some degree. In fact, if you look at endurance sports like ultra marathons, the difference between men and women is very similar, very small, because women have great potential when it comes to endurance. I feel like the big argument is almost like on body structure and size. Like, is someone that's 110 kilos going to be stronger than someone that's 50? Of course they are, because they weigh more. So we actually just need to be zooming out and going, is it the full picture? Is it not? What does it actually mean? And especially when we're looking at things like health and fitness, right? It's just so confusing for women in a world where there's already so much misinformation that reinforces that we're delicate little butterflies and we need a completely different approach, right? Sleep 10 hours, go do your banded crab walks, have a Pilates class, drink your matcha, and don't worry about anything else. These women are the ones who are going to have osteoporosis later in life because we're not doing anything about it. We're just saying, good job. Like it's not enough. I think we need to be telling women to like train harder and push harder and do hard things rather than just saying, oh, you know, just be careful, pull back. I just loved this message here.
Girls are taught to be perfect.
Yeah.
And boys are taught to be brave. And it's ridiculous. That's why I love sports, because the one thing sports do for girls, it gives them confidence. They learn to trust their bodies, because we're taught not to trust our bodies. The reason I want girls to go into sports at all, and they don't have to be good. Everybody goes, well, I can't be the best. No,
it's not about being the best.
It's about the culture. I want girls to get into sports because we know 94% of women in C-suites identify as being an athlete. It's more comfortable, and also we learn how to lead. Girls that learn sports learn how to lead, make decisions, live with it, and move on. And I think that's one of the greatest things you're going to learn in life.
Messages like that are what actually empowering women to get out, move their bodies, push, demand, lead. Like those are the things we should be encouraging, not that you need 10 hours of sleep. Like, do you think an Olympian's ever going to be like, oh, I didn't get 10 hours of sleep, I can't perform today? No, they're probably up at night anxious. And it just creates this separation of like men and women. And it's not, it's like, it's a human thing. Like exercise is the same, universal. There's no difference. And there is still a lot of people that believe in things like cycle syncing and like training around your menstrual cycle. Probably going to get someone in the comments say like, I train around my menstrual cycle, that works for you, that's fine. But it's just not what the research says. So we just need to be coming back to like the basics, done well, backed on physiology, real physiology, not like hypothesizing something, and then actually creating content on that and pushing that message out into the world. So these are the 5 pieces of content that stopped me in my scroll this week. And I would love to hear from you. Which one stood out the most? Or what else is pissing you off a little bit online? Like, what are you seeing right now that you're like, that doesn't make sense? Things that you're seeing on your social media feed right now that make you feel exactly the same. I would love to hear them. Pop them in the comments below and I'll make a part 2.